JMath.
Let's see how you would find the tangent to a circle in analytical geometry. Somewhere in the year in calculus, you're also going to learn about tangents, but it's two completely different methods, so don't get confused. This is paper 2, analytical geometry. Let's go through the steps. Firstly, a tangent is a line that only touches the circle once. So to find the equation, it would be y is equal to mx plus c. And if you remember your work from Euclidean in grade 11, a radius is always perpendicular to a tangent. So step 1 is find the gradient of the radius. So they normally give me a midpoint and a point of contact, in this case, a point of tangency is the correct name, and I can then work out the gradient for that. Then I would use my perpendicular knowledge to flip that gradient into a perpendicular gradient, because that would be the tangent. Remember, if I multiply the two gradients, it must give me -1. And the shortcut there is flip it and change the sign to find that tangent's gradient. Then I just sub that and the point of tangency in y equals mx plus c, and that is how I would find the equation of the tangent. But let's do this example step by step, and then it will make more sense. Step 1, find the gradient of the radius. So gradient is always a small m, and then I can just say this is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And in this case, this would give me 1 over 2. So that is m rad. Now, to find the perpendicular gradient, so the tangent, it would be, so I'm just going to write perpendicular gradient would be equal to -2. So remember, you can write for your teacher, I did a half times m2 equals -1. And then I can just say this is -1 divided by a half, which gives me -2. So they are fine if you use the shortcut. If you don't feel comfortable, just write it all out. Now I can just figure out what is the c value. So I know y is equal to -2x plus c. And in this case, I can sub in 3 into the y value and 5 into the x value. And that would give me -2 times 5 gives me -10. If I take it over, that's a 13. And therefore, y is equal to -2x plus 13 would be the equation of the tangent. So let's look at a few more questions. So question 1. So in these questions, it is find the equation of the tangent. In this case, I can't see the center of the circle, but I know from previous knowledge that this would just be +2 and -3 if I have the formula for a circle. And now I can just go again and find the gradient of the radius. So m would be equal to 1 plus 3 over 1 minus 2. That gives me a 4, and therefore the perpendicular gradient of the tangent would be -1/4. Y is then equals to -1/4 x plus c. I can now sub in the 1 and the 1, so 1 is equal to -1/4 times 1 plus c. If I take that -1/4 over, I know that is 5 over 4. So my final equation would be y is equal to -1/4 of x plus 5 over 4. Question 2. So now I first need to get the circle in standard form so I can see what the center is. Remember, I can just make the brackets already. Always a plus in the middle. That's a y, that's a squared, and then the 13. So I just half the value in front of x, so that's +3, and then I just half the value in front of normal y, so that's just +6. And then I need to say +3 squared plus 6 squared. But in this case, the length of the radius is not what they want. So I don't even need to simplify that side. I did everything mathematically correct, but I am just interested in the center, which would be -3 and -6. Now I can say, okay, so m rad would equal 1 plus 6 over -6 plus 3. That gives me 7 over -3. So it's not a nice gradient, but I can still just flip it to get the gradient of the tangent, and that would just be 3 over 7, and it's now positive. So y is equal to 3 over 7 x plus c. I need to sub in the point of tangency. So the 1 goes there, 3 over 7, and that's a -6 in that place, plus c. This is not going to be a nice value, but I can see this is going to be 1 plus 18 over 7 is equal to c. So therefore, y is equal to 3 over 7x, and then that gives me 25 over 7 for my c value. Question 3, they give me a circle with an expanded equation, so I first need to find the center, and then they ask me question A and B. So before I start question A, I'm just first going to write that circle into standard form. So I know this is x squared minus 6x plus y squared plus 8y is equal to 24. So in this first one, x minus 3 squared plus y plus 4 squared is equal to 24 plus 3 squared and then plus 4 squared. So remember, I know the 3 was a negative, but because I'm squaring it, it's anyway going to cancel. In this case, I can simplify the right-hand side to be 49. So therefore, my center would just be 3 and minus 4. I can fill that in. And then the radius would be equal to 7. Now, question A. Find the equations of the tangents which are parallel to the y-axis. Okay, so it sounds very complicated, but it's actually a very easy question. The first thing you must just do is find the coordinates, which are directly above and below the center, or left and right of the center. So I know the radius, which I can draw there, was 7. And therefore, this would be 10 and minus 4. And to the other side, this would be minus 4 and minus 4. Now I can also find the point directly above and directly below. So this would be 3 and 3 in this case. And then the one directly below would be 3 and minus 11. Now, if they want the equation of a line which is parallel to the y-axis, I know I can draw a line like this, which would be parallel, and then I can just move it until it touches the circle, because that's the definition of a tangent. And now something you must also notice is they talked about plural tangents to the circle and equations. So there's actually another point where this line would just touch the circle once, which makes it a tangent. And it would be right there. So let's get the equation of these two lines. I am just looking at the x value. So this one would be x is equal to minus 4, and the one on the right would just be x is equal to 10. So this would be a 2-mark question, 1 mark for each of your answers. Now for question B, find the equations of the tangents which are perpendicular to the y-axis. So now I can draw a horizontal line. If I move it up, I know the one tangent would be there, and the other tangent would be there. And I can now just write the equations, and I'm just looking at y value. So this is y is equal to 3, and the other one is y is equal to minus 11. And that's it. There's no y is equal to mx plus c or nothing like that. These are special cases, and therefore there are no other working out required. Both of these would just be a 2-mark question, 1 mark for each of your 4 answers. Question 4, determine the equation of the tangent to the following circle at a specific point. So this is the standard question that you would see regarding tangents, where they just give you a circle and they give you a point, but they don't give you a sketch. So you're welcome to make a quick sketch for yourself, just to orientate yourself with where's the center and where this point of tangency is, but it's not necessary. First step, we need to get the center of the circle. So I'm just straight going to get the answer already. So I'm just going to say this is x plus 1 squared. So remember, I'm just halving the plus 2. And then for the other one, y minus 3 squared. So I'm just halving the minus 6. Now I can just say this is equal to 4 plus 1 squared plus minus 3 squared in this case. So therefore, x plus 1 squared plus y minus 3 squared would be equal to 4 plus 1 plus 9. So that gives me 14. Now, if I go and write in the center would be minus 1 and positive 3. So I'm not going to do an x and a y axis and all of that. I just want to see roughly where the center would be. Now, if they tell me there's a point of tangency at minus 6 and 2, I know it's going to be left of this point and a little bit down. So it's going to be there somewhere. So now I can just draw a line there as my tangent, and I know it's perpendicular with the radius. Perfect. Now I can start the steps. So step 1 would be mrad. Okay, so y2 minus y1, I'm just going to write in minus 6 and 2 as my point of tangency, and then I can say this is 3 minus 2 over minus 1 plus 6. That just gives me a 1 over 5 as my radius gradient. Now I can say, therefore, my perpendicular m of tangent would be equal to negative 5. Now y is equal to negative 5x plus c, and I just sub in the 2 and the minus 6. Minus 5 times minus 6 gives me positive 30, and therefore if I take it over, it's 2 minus 30, which would give me 28. So I can now just rewrite the final answer as y is equal to minus 5x minus 28. That's it. That's what you do if they ask you for a tangent. Question 5. Determine the equations of the tangents to the following circle at p and minus 2. So this is getting into a level 3, level 4 type of question, where it's not just homework level stuff. You really need to understand what they are asking you. So in this case, I would say, please draw a circle so you can just see what they are trying to hide. But firstly, let's get the center of this circle. So once again, I can just say this is x minus 7 squared, because I'm just halving the minus 14. And then if I look at this, I don't see another y, so that means this is just y squared. And now minus 36 plus 7 squared, and therefore x minus 7 squared plus y squared would be equal to minus 36 plus 49 gives me just 13. Now I can go put in the center of the circle, and that would be at 7 and 0. Okay, now we need to try and analyze what they're telling me with that p. So there's a point, p, so I don't know how far left or right this is, but I do know that it is 2 units down from where the center is. So if the center is 0, then that point could be there, which would be p and minus 2. But if I see this as a horizontal line, then there's a possibility that it could also be there. So that's also p and minus 2. So in this case, there can be 2 tangents to this circle. So don't get confused. this is allowed to happen. So now I need to try and figure out what the p-value would be in this case. And luckily I have a formula, so I can just sub in the coordinate, and then I'm probably going to get a trinomial with two p-values at the end. But that's exactly what I'll have to do. And if I follow all my algebra steps, I see that p could be 4 or p could be 10. And now on my little sketch, I can just go and update, and then I can just do normal sums to get the tangent. So I know this one on the left could be a 4, and this one, well, not could be, it is. We proved it with algebra. So now I have 2 points of tangency, and therefore I'm going to have 2 tangents and 2 answers for everything. So let's go through the steps. I need to find the gradient of the radius. So if I first start with the one on the left, I can just say m rad would be equal to 0 plus 2 over 7 minus 4, and that just gives me 2 over 3. Therefore, m of the tangent would be minus 3 over 2, and y is equal to minus 3 over 2 x plus c. I must now just sub in the correct ones. I don't get confused in this case, so I'm going to sub in minus 2, and then the 4 into this place. And now I can just figure out what is c. So if I say 4 times minus 3 over 2, that would then actually give me 12 over 2, so that's a 6, minus 6. So if I take that minus 6 over, this would be minus 2 plus 6 as my c value. So therefore, this equation would be y is equal to minus 3 over 2x, and then plus 4. Now I just repeat all the steps, but with the 10 and minus 2. And there we go. That is the equation of the second tangent. So be careful for a question like this. It could easily count 6 or 7 marks. And many people will forget to work it out twice and then lose all those marks. I hope it made sense and you feel more comfortable to find tangents to circles.
If this video helped you, please like and subscribe.
JMath.